If I had to start over with nothing but my voice, I'd still be rich, because the word is the wealth. I would not fear the blank slate. I would not tremble at the absence of money, connections, or position. I would not look to the left or the right, but only within, because I know what most people do not. Your voice, aligned with truth, is your bank, your credit, your access to the infinite supply. It is not the job, the market, or the man who writes the checks. It is the decree. The divine decree uttered from the lips of faith cracks open the vaults of heaven. I would say what the soul already knows, but the world has forgotten, that the word is substance, that the spirit speaks in substance, that the unseen is more solid than any coin. I would stand where all seemed empty, and I would speak until it was full. I would bless the silence and break it with gold. Because I am not the beggar of life. I am not the borrower of riches. I am the speaker of supply, and I would speak until my words built the house, summoned the money, gathered the favor, multiplied the bread, and filled the barns. If I had nothing but my voice, I'd still be rich, because the word is the wealth. The decree is the door. And I would start over, not in fear, but in full spiritual authority. The law is this: your wealth does not come from effort, from hours worked or strategies executed. It comes by the law of prosperity, divine law, irrevocable and ever ready, which says that all supply is spiritual and all demonstration begins in consciousness. You are not made rich by the outer world. You are made rich by your inner word. It is law that what you impress upon the subconscious must be expressed in your affairs. And most men live in poverty not because God is absent, but because their speech denies him. They affirm lack, they worship delay, they bow before fear. But the law of prosperity is unmoved by appearance. It does not care if your pockets are empty, if your account is low, if your clients are silent or the market is cold. The law only asks, what are you speaking? What are you imagining? What are you declaring to be true? Because the word is the mold, and supply is the molten gold that fills it. Let the weak say, I am strong. That is not poetic sentiment. It is spiritual precision. It means, even when your hands are trembling and the door is closed and the bank account is whispering lies, you say, I am strong. You say, I am rich. You say, there is no delay in divine supply. You speak the truth of spirit, not the report of the senses, because your voice is the lever that lifts the weight of the world off your back. Most people are not starting over financially. They are starting over spiritually. They have built their fortunes on sand. They have hustled without declaring. They have moved without listening. They have tried to earn what was meant to be spoken into form. And so, when the tide comes in and sweeps it all away, they think they have lost. But I tell you, you have only lost what was never truly yours. What is yours by divine law can never be taken. What is yours by spiritual decree must appear again. And so I say, start over, but not by strategy. Start over in consciousness. Start over in your words. Tear down the house of doubt and build the mansion of truth. Begin again, not in fear, not in striving, not in logic, but in declaration. Because the wall that kept you from millions was never made of stone. It was made of silence. It was made of hesitation. It was made of begging instead of commanding. Break it now. Speak your word. Align with law. Declare that your supply is spiritual, eternal, invisible, and now being made visible. Speak until you see it. Declare until you hold it. Say it until it comes, because that is how the law of prosperity moves. Not by effort, but by authority, by alignment, by divine words spoken in faith. And you have that power now. You must speak riches, not poverty. You must declare the unseen as if seen, and do it with a voice that does not tremble, a voice that knows its power, a voice that remembers its source. Most people wait to see the money before they feel secure. They wait to receive the check before they give thanks. They wait for the door to open before they call it theirs. But divine law does not operate on human delay. It moves only when you move by faith, when you dare to declare what the eye has not yet seen and the hand has not yet touched. You say it first. You command it first. You speak it in the silence, in the absence, in the nothingness, and you speak it as if the whole world already agreed. That is the secret of wealth. Not ambition, not worry, not strategy, but divine speech, rhythmically repeated, spiritually backed, unquestioningly believed. You do not need to convince the world. You need only convince your subconscious. And the subconscious, when properly impressed, will build your fortune, organize your affairs, arrange your meetings, fill your account, and place you in the right place at the right time to receive what you have already called forth in the spirit. The outer is the echo, the inner is the sound. So I say unto you, declare it now. Say, I now draw to myself wealth divine, and nothing can keep it from me. Say it not with hesitation, but with certainty. Say it as the law. Say it as a decree from the throne of your own divine authority. You are not speaking to wealth. You are speaking from it. You are not begging a distant force to help you. You are summoning what is already yours by divine inheritance. Let this sentence become your sword, your staff, your daily bread. Say it in the morning. Say it when fear creeps in. Say it before you check your bank account. Say it until your very atmosphere hums with the vibration of provision. I now draw to myself wealth divine, and nothing can keep it from me. Let every word ring like a bell in your soul. Let it dissolve doubt. Let it cancel limitation. Let it undo years of worry and striving. Let it rewire your entire being until you no longer hope for money, you expect it. Until you no longer fear lack, you laugh at it. Until you walk as one who knows the treasury of heaven stands open at the sound of your voice. This is not fantasy. This is not positive thinking. This is spiritual law. And law is not emotional. It is not moved by whining or worry. It is activated by precision, by word, by conviction. So stop narrating your lack. Stop rehearsing your fear. Stop reinforcing the illusion with words of doubt and defeat. Speak wealth. Declare abundance. Announce your inheritance. And do it now. Because every day you wait is a day you reinforce the false. Speak the truth. Stand in the invisible riches of spirit and let the world catch up to what you already know is yours. Say it until you become it. Declare it until it manifests. And never again give your voice to the lie of lack. You must now go deeper. You must not simply say the words. You must dissolve the inner noise that argues against them. Because within every person who has suffered under the illusion of lack, there is a clamor of doubt, a static of resistance, a loud and lying chorus that speaks in the voice of reason, memory, and past defeat. This inner noise must be cleared, because it interferes with the broadcast of truth. And what is that noise? It is the memory of unpaid bills, the echo of rejection, the shame of wasted time, the fear of starting over again without proof. But I tell you this, you are not starting over. You are starting correctly. You are not beginning again. You are beginning from alignment. And that is the only beginning that matters, because the former things shall be remembered no more. The old voice, the one that says, you tried this before and it didn't work, the one that whispers, maybe some people are just lucky, the one that shouts, be realistic. That voice is not your voice. That is the voice of the world's hypnosis. That is the voice of collective fear. And it is not divine. It is not permanent. It is not true. So you must speak until that noise is silenced. You must repeat the truth until it rings louder than the lie. You must say, I now draw to myself wealth divine, and nothing can keep it from me, until that sentence becomes louder than your memory, louder than your fear, louder than your past, louder than the headlines, louder than the bank report. You must not fight the noise. You must replace it, because the subconscious cannot hold two opposing pictures. And when you fill it with the word of wealth, the word of power, the word of truth, it must reject the old image. It must align with what you repeatedly say. Think of your inner world like a radio dial. If you want to hear the frequency of abundance, you must first tune out the static. The static is your old beliefs, your past disappointments, your conditioned logic that says, unless I see it, I can't believe it. But the metaphysical law is this: you believe first, you speak first, you declare first, and then you see. That is the path of the soul. That is the voice of dominion. You are not a seeker of riches. You are a divine magnet. You are not chasing wealth. You are commanding it. And when the inner frequency is set, when the static is cleared, when the word becomes flesh within you, the outer world must mirror it. It is law. It is inevitable. The old self who struggled, who calculated, who panicked at the sight of an empty wallet, she is no longer here. She has been replaced by the one who knows, the one who speaks, the one who tunes her mind to truth and lets nothing interrupt the broadcast. Let the inner noise be stilled now. Let the static fall silent. Let the voice of spirit speak through you with clarity, rhythm, and certainty. You are the temple, the transmitter, the magnet, the vessel, and divine wealth is already rushing to fill every part of you that is now aligned with its frequency. Say it until it is your new silence. Say it until it is the music of your soul. Say it until your very being vibrates with the certainty that nothing, absolutely nothing, can keep from you what God has declared to be yours. Poverty is not a punishment. It is a spell, a spoken curse, a whispered agreement, a sentence handed down not by God but by man, repeated again and again until it hardened into appearance. It is not reality. It is not law. It is not divine. It is the echo of words long forgotten, words you may not even remember speaking, words that were spoken over you by frightened parents, weary teachers, anxious friends, bitter voices who had themselves bowed before the altar of lack. Money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work hard for every dollar. That's too expensive. That's not for people like us. These words, seemingly small, repeated over and over, entered the subconscious and set the thermostat of your life. And now, like a home preset to stay cold, you have walked through the seasons of your life with your heat turned down by the words of others. But I tell you now, you are not cursed. You are not bound. You are not limited by your job, your age, your education, or your economy. You are bound only by the words you have accepted as true. And the moment you choose to say a new word, to install a new sentence, to shatter the old spell with a new decree, you are free. You are released. You are reprogrammed. You are restored to your divine inheritance. And the one sentence that will do it is not long or complicated or poetic. It is a simple arrow of truth shot straight into the illusion. It is this: God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me now, under grace, in perfect ways. This is not a wish. It is not a charm. It is a truth, a spiritual detonator, that when spoken in faith, with repetition, with rhythm, with full inner consent, will blow the chains off your consciousness and flood your life with the substance it calls forth. You must no longer repeat the sentences of limitation. You must no longer describe your poverty. You must no longer decorate your struggle with language. Every time you say, "I can't afford it," every time you sigh at a bill, every time you speak of delay or lack or strain, you reinforce the false spell. You add another brick to the wall that stands between you and your good. Tear it down now, with your word, with this word, with the sentence that restores your place in the flow of divine abundance. Speak it and do not stop. Speak it in the face of contradiction. Speak it when you feel foolish. Speak it until the old spell breaks and you realize the truth was always there, waiting, watching, ready to flood in the moment you opened the door. God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me now, under grace, in perfect ways. This is your sword. This is your staff. This is the sentence that shatters the spell. Speak it and be made free. The law that makes this possible is the law of substitution. a divine mechanism as old as creation itself, written into the invisible structure of your being, humming through the ethers, commanding that no two things can occupy the same space in consciousness at the same time. You cannot believe in wealth and lack simultaneously. You cannot serve both fear and faith. You cannot declare abundance while carrying secret vows of struggle in the back pocket of your soul. And so the law of substitution comes not to shame you, but to free you. It says, replace the lie. Speak the new. Substitute the old image with the divine one. Because when you speak the truth in the face of error, the truth wins. Always. Just as light casts out darkness the moment it is lit, the word of truth dissolves the illusion of poverty the moment it is declared without compromise. That is why I say, this sentence, God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me now, under grace, in perfect ways, is not just a phrase. It is the spiritual light switch. It is the substitution. It is the replacement of error with divine reality. When you speak this word, you are not trying to convince God of anything. You are not attempting to force a miracle. You are simply installing a new vibration into your own field of belief. And when the subconscious mind hears a word often enough, when it feels it charged with emotion, when it is spoken with expectancy and rhythm and persistence, it accepts it. And what the subconscious accepts, the world reflects. That is the law. The law of substitution does not wait for your perfection. It waits for your participation. It asks you not to clean yourself up before speaking, but to speak and let the word do the cleaning. It asks you not to earn your worthiness, but to declare your inheritance. It commands you to stop repeating the old story, not because the story is shameful, but because it is powerless. You are not poor because of circumstance. You are poor because you have been repeating a sentence of lack under your breath for so long, you thought it was your identity. But a new sentence, a new decree, will evict the old. And that sentence must be spiritual, must be true, must be absolute, must be yours. Not borrowed from another, not mumbled like a ritual, not spoken with crossed fingers, but declared from your soul as law. And when you do that, when you obey the law of substitution and replace the sentence of struggle with the sentence of divine provision, your entire life begins to shift. Not because you forced it, but because you finally aligned with it. Because the word poverty has no power against the word God. Because when you say unfailing supply, you cancel the idea of shortage. When you say large sums of money, you delete the image of scraping by. When you say now, you close the door on delay. When you say under grace, you declare ease. And when you say in perfect ways, you leave the method to infinite intelligence. This is the law, and it cannot be broken. Say the new word, and the old world must dissolve. Say the truth, and the illusion must fall. Say it, and say it now. Because light never waits for permission to shine. It only waits to be lit. Now let me tell you how to say it, not just with your mouth, but with your whole being. You do not chant this sentence like a parrot hoping for crumbs. You declare it as a spiritual commander speaking to creation itself. You do not whisper it with trembling fear. You do not mumble it out of obligation or superstition. You say it with rhythm. You say it with breath. You say it with force that comes not from muscle but from alignment. Because this is not the repetition of desperation. This is the rhythm of dominion. This is your tuning fork to divine frequency. And you say it again and again, not because God needs to hear it, but because you do. Because the first time you say it, it sounds foreign. The second time, it still echoes with doubt. The third time, you wonder if it's working. But somewhere around the 50th, the 100th, the 1000th repetition, something breaks. Not outside, but inside. The old architecture of fear begins to crumble. The structure of poverty that has lived in your nervous system, in your voice, in your breath, in your bones, it begins to shake. And the new word takes root. You begin to believe it, not just mentally, but viscerally. Your posture changes, your tone changes, your very atmosphere begins to shift. God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me now, under grace, in perfect ways. Let every word be alive. Let each syllable be planted deep into the soil of your subconscious where it can grow and flourish and multiply. Break it down if you must. Emphasize each part. God is, not man, not luck, not timing, my unfailing supply, not a temporary patch, not a fluctuating hope, large sums of money, not just enough, not scraps, not trickles. Come to me. They are moving toward you, not away. Now, not someday, not when you've proved yourself. Under grace, with ease, without force, without regret. In perfect ways, through channels seen and unseen, beyond your calculation, orchestrated by infinite intelligence. Say it like it is your address. Say it like it is your heartbeat. Say it like it is the law, because it is. And when doubt arises, when appearances contradict it, when the mailbox is empty and the phone is silent and the bill is due, that is when you say it louder. That is when you lift your head and speak what is eternally true, not what is temporarily visible. Because words spoken in alignment with spiritual law do not depend on physical evidence. They create it. And if you will be faithful to this sentence, if you will speak it not as a wish but as a weapon of truth, if you will repeat it until it etches a new pattern in your mind and body and energy, then the money must come. The provision must appear. The door must open. The spell must break. And your life will become what it was always meant to be, a demonstration of divine abundance, spoken into form by your unwavering word. And now let us go deeper still, not into the words themselves, but into the silent loyalties that have been living beneath them, the hidden contracts with struggle that you never consciously signed, but have nonetheless obeyed for years. Because even as you speak this sentence of truth, God is my unfailing supply and large sums of money come to me now, under grace, in perfect ways, there may still be a part of you, buried under the weight of memory and inherited shame, that resists it. That feels guilt at the idea of large sums. That feels unworthy of ease. That flinches at the notion of receiving without effort, without torment, without the crucifixion of self-denial. And I tell you, this is the echo of a false humility, a learned poverty disguised as virtue, a spiritual fog that must be cleared before the light can pour through. You must reprogram not only your conscious speech, but your unconscious allegiance. You must uncover and dissolve the emotional bond you've formed with suffering, with being the struggler, the one who works hard, the one who earns it the hard way, the one who is admired for how little they need, rather than how freely they receive. That identity must be laid on the altar. That old image, the beggar who thought he was being holy by refusing his inheritance, must be seen for what it is, a distortion, a spell, a lie. You are not righteous because you lack. You are not holy because you suffer. You are not virtuous because you deny yourself the abundance that was written into your being before you were born. There is no reward in lack. There is no badge in just scraping by. And you must renounce the invisible oath that says you cannot have wealth and remain spiritual, that says riches corrupt, that says ease is a betrayal of morality. That is the beggar's gospel, and it is not of God. The true gospel says, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth." The true gospel says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." The true gospel says, "Ask, and it shall be given unto you." You are not meant to worship money, but you are meant to command it. You are not called to chase wealth, but to speak it, to call it, to receive it as the natural extension of your alignment with divine order. So you must now look honestly at the emotional hooks that have kept you loyal to struggle. Have you feared judgment? Have you feared separation from those who call wealth evil? Have you feared your own power? It is time to unplug from that matrix. It is time to break that inner agreement. And how do you do it? By repetition, by rhythm, by speaking the new word until it vibrates through every cell and overrides the old programming. Say it until you feel the lie tremble. Say it until your nervous system stops flinching at the idea of overflow. Say it until you can imagine yourself wealthy, peaceful, radiant, and feel no guilt, no shame, no resistance. Say it until it becomes your new peace, your new silence, your new identity. God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me now, under grace, in perfect ways. That is not just a sentence. It is a sword that severs you from the bondage of generational scarcity. It is a ladder out of the pit of inherited shame. It is the thunder that cracks the illusion and opens the heavens. Say it, and be transformed. Speech is the bridge between spirit and substance. It is the narrow, golden thread stretched across the chasm of invisibility, the divine cord that pulls what is eternal into what is material, the only tool given to man that can speak to both the unseen and the seen and command them to align. Before there is form, there is word. Before there is manifestation, there is declaration. Before the check is written, the blessing is spoken. That is how creation has always worked. God did not mold the world with his hands. He said, "Let there be light," and light obeyed. He spoke the heavens, the waters, the earth, the seed-bearing trees, the stars, the beasts of the field, and man himself into form. All came forth from the divine voice, and that same power has been placed within you. You were made in the image and likeness of the Creator, not to observe, but to declare, not to describe what is, but to call forth what shall be. And if you have been waiting for proof before speaking, if you have been hesitating until the money appears, the opportunity arrives, or the numbers add up, then you are not yet living by spiritual law. You are still worshiping appearances. You are still bowing before evidence instead of authority. But I tell you now, authority is granted to the one who speaks from the unseen, who walks on the water of the invisible, who says, "It is done," while the room is still empty. You must speak it before you see it. You must say it before you feel safe. You must declare it before you know how it will come. Because speech is not a response, it is a command. It is the cause, not the effect. It is the origin of change, not the confirmation of it. The tongue is not just a tool of expression, it is the divine lever of transformation. And if you would become a master of substance, a demonstrator of divine wealth, a channel for infinite supply, then you must begin not by asking, not by hoping, not by doubting, but by saying. You must begin with the word and never stop saying it. This is the law of expectancy, a spiritual law rooted not in wishful thinking or passive hoping, but in the absolute knowing that what is spoken in faith must appear by divine law. It is written into the fabric of consciousness itself. What you expect, you prepare for, and what you prepare for, you receive. Expectancy is not a mood, it is a mold. It is the invisible architecture of manifestation, the shape into which the formless substance of spirit pours itself. And that mold is cast through your word, your inner assumption, your spiritual posture. The law of expectancy is not activated when you say, "I hope so." It is not moved by nervous optimism or anxious repetition. It is activated when your declaration becomes a decree, when your word becomes law in your world, when your entire being stands upright in the full conviction that what you have spoken must come because spirit has heard it and law is now set in motion. And what is the substance that rushes to fill that mold? It is not stone, not gold, not paper currency. It is spiritual energy, divine intelligence, wealth in its highest and purest vibration, ready to take form according to the blueprint you supply through your inner word. You are not waiting for the money to arrive. You are forming the channels through which it must come. You are not hoping to be surprised by prosperity. You are issuing the command for it to clothe itself in the garments of your expectation. And how do you know this is law? Because it was written, "You shall decree a thing, and it shall be established unto you." That is not poetry. That is not metaphor. That is a spiritual mechanic, a divine formula, a metaphysical transaction backed by the Word of God. But you must understand this. The decree is not a soft wish, not a polite request, not a passive phrase. It is a spoken command from the soul aligned with the infinite, spoken in full belief, spoken with rhythm, spoken with certainty, spoken with the full expectation that the moment it is said, it is done. It may not yet be seen, but it is already complete. The law of expectancy does not wait for results, it creates them. And your part in this law is to form the mold by what you say, by what you believe, by what you hold as inevitable. If you expect delay, delay will serve you. If you expect lack, lack will visit. But if you expect abundance, abundance must rush to meet you. And the key to this law is not occasional belief, but persistent alignment. You do not say your word once and then wonder. You say it until you expect it. You say it until doubt cannot survive in your atmosphere. You say it until the words you speak echo in your bones, until they vibrate in your walk, in your tone, in your thoughts, in your very breath. Large sums of money come to me now, under grace, in perfect ways. This is not a suggestion. It is an expectation. It is a decree. And by divine law, it must be established unto you. Speak it, and do not wait to see. Speak it, and see it come. You must speak before it looks real. You must speak before your eyes catch up to what your spirit already knows. You must speak with the clarity of one who does not need confirmation from the outer world, for the outer world is not the authority. It is the echo. It is the shadow of what has already been spoken in spirit. And most people delay their speech because they are waiting for a sign, waiting for reassurance, waiting for the world to prove them right before they dare to open their mouths. But I tell you, the moment you do that, you have given your power away. You have bowed to appearances. You have declared the lie to be stronger than the truth. But those who walk in spiritual authority speak in the void. They call things that are not as though they were. They say, I am rich, while standing in a room of unpaid bills. They say, it is done, before the evidence exists. They say, it comes now with the boldness of a king, not the trembling of a beggar. Because it is not by appearances that we live, it is by faith. And faith must speak. It must move the tongue before it moves the world. You do not get to wait for confidence. You do not get to wait until it feels believable. You speak it until it becomes. And what do you say? You say, everything I speak in faith must appear. It is the law. You say it, not as a question, not as a hope, not as a mantra to feel better, but as a decree issued by one who knows the word cannot return void. Say it until your words feel like bricks in your hand, until you can feel substance building with every sentence. Say it while you walk. Say it while you pay. Say it while you fall asleep. Say it while the voices of fear circle you like wolves, and say it louder than they can growl. Because fear feeds on your silence, but it flees from your voice. Faith is not delicate. It is not soft. It is not unsure. Faith speaks, and what it says becomes flesh. When you say, large sums of money come to me now, under grace, in perfect ways, you are not creating something out of nothing. You are calling into visibility what already exists in the spiritual realm. You are pulling the unseen into the seen by the authority of divine law. And if you will speak without ceasing, speak without doubting, speak without begging, speak without delay, speak until your atmosphere shifts and your identity solidifies and your inner world overflows, then you will not have to chase what is yours. It will find you, it will follow you, it will recognize your voice, because your speech has become your signature. Your declaration has become your receipt. Your word has become your wealth. Speak it before you see it. Walk as if it's done. Say it until there is no separation between the voice and the vision. Say it and never stop saying it. Because you are not practicing magic. You are obeying law, and law never fails. Now comes the sacred labor, the inward cleansing, the daily undoing of old impressions, the quiet yet relentless rebuilding of your inner temple according to the blueprint of divine wealth. Because even as you speak the word in boldness, even as you declare truth with the tongue, the hidden chambers of your consciousness may still carry the ghost of lack, the echo of unworthiness, the residue of former beliefs that told you prosperity was for others, that money was hard, that abundance was rare, that riches were dangerous. These are not just thoughts, they are images, and images are powerful. They are the silent architects of your world, shaping your behavior, your vibration, your expectancy, and ultimately, your outcomes. And so, the spoken word must not only be declared into the atmosphere, it must be installed into your being, replacing image with image, frame by frame, thought by thought, until your entire inner movie shifts from one of scarcity and struggle to one of overflow, ease, and divine orchestration. You must picture your wealth as already stored in the invisible, ready to appear not by labor, but by law. You must imagine your supply like rain held in the clouds, forming, gathering, heavy with your name, needing only the command of faith to pour. You must no longer see yourself as one who needs to earn it, prove it, chase it, but as one who calls it forth with calm authority, as one who carries the atmosphere of already done. The old image of the striving self, the hustler, the worrier, the calculator of pennies, the one who checks the account every morning with dread, must be cast out. That version of you was built by fear, and fear has no creative power. Fear only interrupts the creative flow. It burns the bridge between what is spoken and what is seen. It cuts the current of faith, and the moment you believe the fear, the circuit is broken and the image collapses. But when you hold the picture of wealth with devotion, when you guard it like a seed not yet sprouted, when you refuse to dig it up to check if it's working, when you speak your word and let the law go to work, then the bridge is built, the current flows, the image grows stronger, and eventually the world must conform. This is not delusion. This is design. The world you see is your subconscious in material form, your faith made visible, your repeated declarations made flesh. So begin again, not just with words, but with vision. Picture yourself receiving with grace. Picture the money arriving easily. Picture the bills paid early, the needs met abundantly, the desires fulfilled with divine timing and surplus. And speak it as you picture it. Everything I speak in faith must appear. It is the law. Let that sentence carry weight. Let it shape your mornings. Let it cancel your complaints before they reach your lips. Let it become so familiar, so internalized, that doubt finds no home in you. This is the reprogramming. This is the renewal of the mind. This is the moment when you no longer wonder if it will happen. You know it already has, and you are merely walking toward the full visibility of what has already been spoken in spirit. Say it. Picture it. Refuse to be moved by delay or noise or appearance. Let the inner movie play in wealth, and the outer world will edit itself to match. You are not waiting. You are aligning. And alignment always precedes arrival. This is the law of divine supply, the spiritual principle that declares that all provision comes not from people, not from professions, not from performance, but from the invisible source that formed you, breathed into you, and now flows through you, unbroken, unfailing, and unbound by earthly appearances. You do not earn your supply. You align with it. You do not force it. You receive it. And you receive it by knowing it is already present, already circulating in the unseen, already moving toward you on channels known and unknown, because the source never dries up, never goes bankrupt, never forgets your name. And yet, this divine law is so often misunderstood, so buried beneath the dust of religious guilt, cultural shame, economic conditioning, and generational fear, that most people live as if God is a reluctant giver, as if spirit must be convinced to release what was already given in full. They believe supply must be wrestled from the hands of heaven, as if God withholds out of some cosmic test of worthiness. But I tell you, that is a lie. That is not divine. That is not written in the laws of truth. It is man's projection of his own fear onto the face of God, and it must be thrown out, burned down, dissolved. The law of divine supply states clearly that there is no shortage in spirit, no limitation in the invisible storehouse, no fluctuation in divine provision. There is only flow or blockage, and the blockage is always in the channel, not the source. Your fear blocks, your doubt blocks, your refusal to speak truth blocks. But the supply? It is infinite. The vault is open, the river is full. And the moment you remember this, the moment you stop treating money as a scarce creature to be chased and start recognizing it as a divine servant to be summoned, you realign with law. The law is activated not by effort but by word. And the word must be true. The word must be repeated. The word must override the voices that say, you must work harder, you must struggle more, you must wait your turn. No, beloved, that is not the gospel of supply. The gospel says, prove me now, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Do you hear that? The command is not to plead, but to prove the law by using it, to speak boldly, to declare daily, to walk as if the windows of heaven are already open, because they are. It is not God who hesitates. It is not spirit who delays. It is only man, living in appearance, speaking in fear, expecting from the outer instead of declaring from the inner. But when you speak from truth, when you declare supply as unfailing, when you stop looking to people and start looking to principle, the channel opens. And when the channel opens, supply flows. It is not personal. It is not emotional. It is law. And the law says, speak the truth, and supply will pour. Declare the invisible, and it must become visible. Walk in the rhythm of faith, and the vault will respond to your voice. This is the law of divine supply, and it is already working. The only question is, are you speaking the words that open the flow, or the ones that block it? Choose now. Speak now. Prove now. And the heavens must obey. And now I give you the word to speak, the command to utter, the key that fits the lock of the invisible vault, the phrase that bends law into motion and opens channels wider than your imagination could ever construct. Every dollar I need now appears by divine law. Say it plainly. Say it strongly. Say it until it is no longer a statement but a knowing, until it pulses in your bones, until it becomes the silent hum beneath your thoughts, the unseen engine turning behind your every step. Let that sentence become your spiritual gravity, drawing the seen from the unseen, the money from the mind of God into your visible world with holy precision. Say it not to beg, but to claim. Say it not with clenched fists, but with open hands. Say it not to get, but to reveal what is already yours. And when the voice of fear tells you to look around, to count what you lack, to track what's missing, to analyze what hasn't shown up yet, you say it again, louder. You speak the sentence that overrides delay, that dissolves the mirage of not enough, that silences the voice of the world and tunes your entire being to the frequency of fulfillment. Every dollar I need now appears by divine law. You must stop speaking in future tense. You must stop saying, one day I'll have it. Maybe it'll come. I'm trying to believe. That language is neutral, weak, disconnected from the power source. Divine law moves now. Supply is present now. Spirit responds to clarity, to decisiveness, to the voice that does not flinch. And if you will speak this sentence every morning before you check the numbers, if you will say it every night before sleep writes new instructions upon your subconscious, if you will speak it in the parking lot, in the grocery aisle, at the desk, in the car, while walking, while resting, while breathing, then the old mental tracks will begin to break. The loops of lack will fall silent. The grooves of worry will fade. And in their place, a new inner rhythm will rise. A rhythm that knows. A rhythm that calls. A rhythm that receives. Because this sentence is not just a declaration, it is a magnet, a tuning fork, a law in motion. And it must echo through your being until every cell, every thought, every expectation dances in harmony with its truth. Every dollar I need now appears by divine law, not by accident, not by force, not by manipulation, by divine law. That means it comes through grace. It comes on time. It comes through channels prepared before you even knew you'd need them. It comes because you are in alignment, because you have spoken, because the vault cannot remain closed to the one who walks in the truth of their spiritual inheritance. Say it now, say it always. Speak the key, and the treasury must open. This is law, this is truth, this is your instruction. Let no other voice interfere. Let no other belief override. Let no other sentence escape your lips. You are now the speaker of supply, and your words are the golden bridge between heaven's vault and earth's demonstration. Speak, and it must be. Declare, and it must come. Now you must rewire the self-concept that has secretly believed not enough was your identity, not just your condition. Because until now, many of you have not simply lacked money. You have become lack in thought, in posture, in emotional rhythm, in daily language. You have worn scarcity like a garment, draped invisibly over your shoulders, woven into the fabric of your self-image through years of repetition and emotional agreement. You have spoken as one who expects denial. You have prepared for disappointment. You have walked into situations already rehearsing rejection, already assuming insufficiency, already bracing for another delay, another shortage, another not yet. And I tell you, this identity, this false self, has nothing to do with your divine design. It is an overlay, a costume, a performance taught to you by the fearful, the limited, the cautious, the well-meaning but misinformed voices who did not know that heaven's supply is already yours, already present, already responsive to the one who dares to drop the disguise of lack and speak from the truth of divine provision. The spiritual pipeline is not broken. It is not blocked by heaven. It is not locked by spirit. It is only clogged by belief, by untrue, unspoken, unchallenged assumptions about who you are, what is possible, and how wealth comes to you. And those assumptions must now be flushed out by the pure water of truth. Not gently, not politely, but thoroughly, rhythmically, repeatedly, until the flow returns, until the old sludge of fear and guilt and effort and performance is gone, until the pipeline runs clear with certainty and ease. And how do you do this? You speak the new word, not just out loud, but within. You say again and again, "Every dollar I need now appears by divine law," until that sentence is no longer a declaration but a description of how you see yourself, until you no longer see yourself as one who needs to be helped, but one who knows the source flows through you, for you, as you. You must break the habit of being the one who lacks. You must break the identity of the one who waits, who worries, who watches the world for signs of arrival. That identity was formed by fear. It must now be replaced by faith, by vision, by decree. Begin to see yourself differently. See yourself as a living channel of divine wealth, one through whom substance flows easily and constantly, not because you hustle, not because you manipulate, but because you are aligned, because you are attuned, because you speak the word and know the law. The image you hold of yourself is the lid on your supply. And when you lift that image, when you declare, not just occasionally but continually, that you are the one through whom God's abundance expresses, then the lid must lift, the channels must open, the supply must flow. This is not theory. This is reprogramming. This is the holy labor of the spiritual millionaire. And it begins not in strategy, not in effort, but in sentence. The sentence must become your rhythm. The rhythm must become your vibration. And the vibration must become your atmosphere. Every dollar I need now appears by divine law. Say it until the old self cannot live in your body. Say it until the pipeline runs clean. Say it until heaven's treasury flows through you like breath, like water, like light. Say it, and be renewed. You are not waiting on the money. The money is waiting on your authority. It is not far away. It is not running from you. It is not lost in some maze of worldly confusion. It is standing just beyond the veil of your disbelief, listening for your voice to rise to the level of spiritual dominion. It is waiting for you to stop speaking like a servant and begin speaking like a son, like a daughter, like a divine heir who knows the estate has already been written in their name. You have been trained to believe that wealth comes by toil, by proving your worth, by clawing your way up some invisible ladder built by others. But I tell you, wealth is voice responsive. It is not attracted to the voice of effort. It is summoned by the voice of alignment. And the reason you have not yet walked in the fullness of it is not because you are unworthy, but because you have been speaking as if you are. You have narrated a life of delay, described a life of just enough, rehearsed a life of trying, surviving, hoping someday to make it, but never claiming the now, never claiming the throne, never speaking as the one who already possesses the treasure. And yet, the moment you shift your tone, the moment your declarations rise from survival into sovereignty, the moment you say not, "I wish I had," but "I walk in wealth now," something in the unseen rearranges itself. Because spirit recognizes dominion, law responds to tone, the money you think you are. Waiting for is not listening to your desperation, it is waiting for the vibration of command. And command does not plead, it does not panic, it does not shout from emptiness, it speaks from fullness. It speaks as one who already owns, already walks in, already carries the vibration of the thing desired. That is how I became a millionaire, not through schemes, not through systems, but through speech, not through fear, but through form, the spoken form of truth repeated until my consciousness was saturated, my atmosphere transformed, my life rearranged by the law that never fails. Speak like one who owns it, and the world must obey. Speak like one who carries the vault within, and substance must pour forth. Speak like the air you are, and what has been yours all along must now appear. The law that governs this truth is the law of dominion, written not by man, but by spirit, declared in the beginning when the voice of the Creator said, "Let them have dominion over all the earth." This law was not a poetic idea. It was not metaphor. It was not symbolic. It was divine instruction, a spiritual reality that lives in your bones and waits only for your consent to express itself fully through your life. Dominion is not pride. Dominion is not ego. Dominion is not the performance of control over others. It is the humble awareness of your position in divine order. It is the inner knowing that you were never meant to crawl through life begging for provision, waiting for permission, or apologizing for wanting to prosper. You were not designed to be the victim of economics, the servant of systems, or the pawn of market shifts and career ladders. You were not sent here to survive. You were sent to demonstrate, to walk the earth as one who knows heaven's vault is behind every word you speak in faith. The law of dominion does not say you must fight for what is yours. It says you must speak from what is yours. Dominion is not struggle, it is stance. It is the vibration of certainty, the posture of spiritual royalty, the tone that carries weight because it has authority behind it. And authority is not loud, it is law. It moves not through noise, but through clarity. And clarity only comes when you stop consulting appearance and begin listening to spirit. Most people do not walk in dominion because they are too busy describing their conditions, explaining their limitations, and repeating the language of the enslaved consciousness, the one that believes riches must be earned through suffering and proven through exhaustion. But I say to you now, dominion has nothing to do with effort. It is not earned by performance. It is activated by identity. It is the law that says, "Speak as the one who owns, and ownership must appear." It is the truth that declares, "What you will not claim with your word, you cannot hold with your hands." And the moment I understood this, I stopped using language that described my life. I began using language that created it. I stopped narrating lack and began naming abundance. I stopped repeating how hard it had been and began announcing how good it already was. I spoke as a millionaire before the money arrived. I spent as one who trusted the vault behind the veil. I gave as one who knew the river could not run dry. I walked as one who had dominion, not by effort, not by proof, but by law. And law, when honored by word and rhythm and certainty, must obey. This is not emotional. This is not circumstantial. This is divine order. And it is available to you the moment you speak from it. Walk in it and stop shrinking yourself into the old lie that says money belongs to the few and struggle belongs to the rest. The world did not give you dominion, and the world cannot take it away. You were born with it. Speak like it, stand like it, and let the law make the unseen seen. You must now practice the speech of wealth, not as mimicry, not as fantasy, but as the deliberate discipline of one who is determined to align with spiritual reality and discard once and for all the pitiful vocabulary of limitation. Begin here. I now spend, receive, and give as a steward of divine wealth. Say it not with hesitation, not as an experiment, but as a daily declaration that replaces the old framework of fear with the consciousness of circulation. Because a millionaire in spirit does not cling, a divine steward does not hoard, a spiritually wealthy soul does not calculate every cost with clenched fists and furrowed brow. Instead, they speak, and they speak from flow. They speak from the river, not the reservoir. They give, because they know more is always arriving. They spend because they recognize money as divine substance moving on assignment. They receive because they no longer resist good with guilt. You must take this sentence and wear it like a crown. I now spend, receive, and give as a steward of divine wealth. This is not about reckless expenditure or showy generosity. It is about spiritual posture. It is about breaking the internalized language of lack that narrates every transaction with a silent wince, that treats every purchase as a threat, every gift as a sacrifice, every receipt as a loss. That language must be annihilated. That vibration must be cleared. Because true wealth is not held in the numbers, it is held in the identity of the one who knows where it comes from. And when you say this sentence daily, when you walk into the store, open your wallet, tap your card, and speak within your spirit, I am a steward of divine wealth. You declare that you are not just a participant in an economic system. You are an agent of spiritual flow. You are not spending money. You are circulating divine substance. You are not giving from your own supply. You are giving from the treasury of heaven. You are not receiving by accident. You are receiving by alignment. And you must say it until it becomes second nature, until the old self who worried over every cent is dissolved, until the anxious spender, the guilty receiver, the reluctant giver is no more. You must say it until your finances feel like worship, until your giving feels like expansion, until your receiving feels like agreement with God's plan. And when you do, when this truth becomes your native language, when you speak from this place of dominion, you will see how quickly the material catches up to the metaphysical. You will see how money begins to respond, not to fear, but to form, not to striving, but to spiritual stance. Speak it now, speak it daily. Say, I now spend, receive, and give as a steward of divine wealth, and let that word reshape your reality. You must now cast out the last shadow, guilt. That lingering fog that creeps in whenever you feel joy in spending, peace in receiving, power in holding more than enough. Guilt is the great saboteur of wealth, the subtle thief that sneaks in after your declaration and says, should you really have this? Is it fair? Are you becoming too full, too free, too different from the others? It is not your voice. It is the voice of a world hypnotized by lack, trained to believe that wealth must be rationed, that money is a limited pie, and to claim your portion is to take from another's. But I tell you now, divine substance is infinite. Supply is limitless. God's treasury is not divided by logic or morality or fairness. It is distributed by law, and law responds to consciousness. And consciousness expands through repetition, through vision, through fearless receiving. You must now tear out the guilt by its roots. You must refuse to feel wrong for being provided for being blessed, for being answered. You must no longer apologize for the overflow. You must no longer shrink yourself back down so others can feel comfortable. You must no longer sabotage the manifestation because some old ghost of moral confusion whispers that having more is somehow less spiritual. That is a lie. You are not here to suffer as proof of your virtue. You are not here to withhold as proof of your humility. You are not here to shrink in order to fit into the broken system of mutual scarcity. You are here to reveal divine abundance. And the way you reveal it is not just by having, but by holding it without guilt, by spending it without fear, by receiving it without apology, by circulating it with the joy of one who knows it never runs out. And this can only happen when the reprogramming is complete. When every act of giving and receiving becomes a holy confirmation of your alignment with truth. When every transaction is a sermon, every purchase a proclamation, every dollar a disciple of your spoken word. I now spend, receive, and give as a steward of divine wealth. Say it until guilt evaporates. Say it until every corner of your body accepts it. Say it until your nervous system no longer tenses at the sound of a bill or the thought of increase. Say it until wealth no longer feels like a threat to your peace, but the full expression of your purpose. You were never meant to hoard, but you were never meant to fear. You were never meant to beg, but you were always meant to command. You were never meant to carry guilt. You were meant to carry glory. And divine wealth is a form of glory, a reflection of divine order, a demonstration of what happens when law is spoken, when identity is claimed, when the old self of shame is put to death and the new self of truth rises and reigns. Say it, live it. Let guilt be dissolved forever. You are not wrong for being rich. You are wrong only if you speak as if you are still poor. Speak rightly, live freely, circulate joyfully, and let divine substance flow. Delay is not divine. It is disobedience to truth. It is the mental stall caused by doubt, by fear, by hesitation, by smallness parading as patience. I tell you now, heaven is not slow. The Spirit does not procrastinate. God is not confused about the timing of your good. Delay is never from above. It is born from within. It is the byproduct of words not spoken, faith not declared, doors not walked through, truths not owned, identities not stepped into. It is the illusion of time mocking the eternal nature of spirit. It is the ego's favorite sedative, telling you to wait until you're ready, until it's the right moment, until conditions improve, while the law stands still beside you like a silent chariot, waiting for your command to move. Divine timing is not delay. Divine timing is precision. It is the orchestration of infinite mind moving through open channels, responding to the frequency of your consciousness, flowing into form at the speed of your faith. And faith does not stall. Faith does not calculate. Faith does not negotiate with appearances. Faith speaks now, moves now, receives now, because spirit is always now. You have been taught to romanticize waiting, to sanctify your hesitation, to frame your stuckness as surrender. But I say, the moment you truly surrender to truth, things move, heaven moves, supply moves, opportunity moves. The only delay is disbelief. The only slowness is speechlessness. The only blockage is the unspoken word. Say it now. What is mine cannot be late. And watch delay dissolve like mist in the heat of revelation. This is governed by the law of divine right timing, not the human idea of patience as passive suffering, but the divine order that moves all things in perfect rhythm when alignment is complete, when consciousness is clear, when the channel is clean, and the word has been spoken without wavering. Divine timing is never about waiting for something outside of you to change. It is about the removal of inner contradiction. It is about the sacred synchronization of thought, word, and expectancy. Most people misunderstand this law because they interpret silence as absence, and they confuse spiritual precision with cosmic hesitation. They think God is stalling, when in truth it is they who have not yet spoken with authority. It is they who have paused the process with their fear, interrupted the broadcast with their doubt, pressed spiritual pause with words like maybe, someday, hopefully, or I'll try. Divine timing is not a stall tactic. It is the moment the invisible is permitted to become visible because you finally said yes without conditions. It is the sacred click of unseen gears turning into place the very moment your vibration matches the thing you asked for. And that vibration is built by speech, by repetition, by rhythm, by unwavering decree. The moment you say, "It comes now," "It is mine now," "I walk in it now," and say it not as wish but as law, the mechanism of timing activates. Things begin to arrange themselves beyond your ability to see or plan. Doors open without hands. People are moved into position. Delays that seemed unbreakable dissolve in moments. But it does not happen because time passed. It happens because truth was spoken. It happens because the word found no resistance left in you. Divine timing is not passive, it is precise. It is not slow, it is sacred. It is not whimsical, it is law. And the law says this: before they call, I will answer. Did you hear that? Before the prayer is spoken, the provision is prepared. Before the desire is formed, the way is made. But the answer does not appear in your world until you consent to receive it, until your consciousness is cleared of delay, until you no longer doubt that what is yours now, not later, not in some vague future, not when you earn it or prove it or become more spiritual, but now, because divine law is timeless, and it only responds to what is spoken in present tense power. So stop calling delay divine. Stop romanticizing waiting. Stop interpreting your own resistance as God's timing. Divine timing moves as fast as your faith. Speak now, believe now, expect now. And the answer that was already prepared will break into your world the moment your word matches its rhythm. Say it. What is mine cannot be late. It rushes to me now, under grace. This is law, and law never hesitates. Now hear me clearly, and do not let this truth slip from your grasp. You must stop telling the story of delay. You must stop narrating the timeline of lack. You must stop feeding the illusion that what is yours is far away, hidden, postponed, or dependent on someone else's approval. Because the more you tell that story, the more you reinforce the false image of a sluggish universe, a withholding God, a conditional good that must be chased or begged or coaxed into existence. That is not the way of truth. That is not the language of law. You must speak what is real in spirit even before it appears in matter. You must say with absolute certainty, "What is mine cannot be late. It rushes to me now, under grace." And let that word become your shield against every lie of delay. Say it when the world says it's not your time. Say it when the door seems shut. Say it when the voice of logic whispers that things take years, that wealth must accumulate slowly, that success is a ladder to climb with blood and sweat and waiting at every rung. Say it louder than the voice of caution, the voice of the past, the voice of old disappointment. Because law is not bound by time. God is not confined to the calendar. The supply you seek already exists in the eternal now. It is not waiting to be created. It is waiting to be claimed. And you claim it not by force, but by word, not by effort, but by expectancy, not by pleading, but by positioning your consciousness in the present moment and declaring, "It is here, it is now, it is mine." That is not delusion. That is dominion. That is not denial. That is design. And the more you speak this truth, the more you cancel the script of delay that was never yours to begin with. Because delay is a mental agreement. It is a vibration that says, "Not yet." But the moment you say, "Now," the current begins to flow. The timing adjusts. The divine choreography accelerates. What once took years collapses into weeks. What once seemed distant appears suddenly, because you stopped pushing it away with your own words of hesitation. You do not manifest by waiting. You manifest by speaking, and you speak in the tense of spirit, now. What is mine cannot be late. It rushes to me now, under grace. Say it before you feel ready. Say it until the old habits break. Say it until you no longer check the clock or the calendar, because you know that divine order does not run on human time. It runs on truth. And truth moves faster than any appearance. Speak it, live it, and let what is already yours rush to meet you on the breath of your word. And now comes the final breaking of the spell, the deep untangling of that chronic inner posture that mistakes resistance for waiting, hesitation for discernment, and fear for wisdom. It is time to clear from your consciousness every image of waiting and anxiety, of pacing the hallway of life wondering when your door will open, of sitting with folded hands and an aching heart repeating the lie, maybe it's just not time yet. Because that image has been etched into the subconscious of humanity for centuries. A picture of delay draped in spiritual clothing, a doctrine of deferred good dressed up as humility, a worship of time instead of a command of truth. And I tell you now, that image must be shattered. That identity must be replaced. You are not a waiter. You are not a beggar. You are not a passive soul suspended in cosmic limbo, hoping the heavens will one day remember your name. You are a speaker of truth. You are a doer of word. You are a child of now, and now is the only time Spirit knows. So the reprogramming begins here, not with effort, not with striving, but with the discipline of speaking and seeing rightly. You must see your manifestation as already formed, already moving, already halfway into view. You must imagine it as a train barreling toward your station, not waiting on your worthiness, not stopping to ask your permission, but speeding toward your life because your words set it in motion. And your job is not to delay it by second-guessing. Your job is to prepare for it, to open your arms, to make space, to speak rhythmically. What is mine cannot be late. It rushes to me now, under grace, in perfect ways. Say that until your nervous system calms. Say it until your breath deepens. Say it until the vibration of doubt, hesitation, and maybe not yet is no longer welcome in your body. Say it until the only thing left in you is the still, steady certainty that all things are working in perfect rhythm and that delay was never divine. It was only disbelief in disguise. Visualize your good arriving on time. Walk through your day as one who expects. Make decisions as one already provided for. Clear your calendar not in fear, but in faith. And every time the old delay image tries to return, every time you are tempted to describe the wait, to explain the pause, to worship the process instead of commanding the result, you speak the new word again, not as a ritual, as a reality. You say, "My divine timing is now. The door opens now. The thing I seek is seeking me now. I no longer wait, I receive." And the spell breaks, the dam opens, the flow resumes. Because you stopped feeding time and started feeding truth. And truth never delays. Truth moves in rhythm with your bold spoken word. Let it be now. Let it be yours. Let it come swiftly, for it has always been ready. It was you who had to remember how to speak. Money is a servant. It listens to the voice of command. It does not lead, it follows. It does not initiate, it responds. It has no will of its own, no agenda, no power apart from the energy and instruction given to it by the one who speaks from spiritual authority. And if you do not command it, it will drift. If you do not direct it, it will follow the voice of fear, the vibration of doubt, the tone of hesitation, the frequency of confusion. You must understand this. Money is not your master. It is not your reason. It is not your identity. It is your servant. And servants must be told where to go, what to do, how to move. Money is not summoned by need. It is summoned by command. It is not attracted by panic. It is magnetized by presence. And presence is the product of faith spoken aloud. Faith that walks into the empty room and speaks overflow. Faith that opens an unpaid bill and declares divine surplus. Faith that sees a closed door and says, "Another opens for me by divine law." This is not about pretending. This is not about acting. This is not about ignoring reality. This is about creating reality with the only tool that has ever had the power to do so, your word. Say it with me now. even if your voice shakes. I am the voice that money obeys. I command it with faith. I send it forth with clarity. I receive it without fear. That sentence alone can shift your atmosphere. That sentence alone can reorder your world. Because fortune follows not the clever, not the strategic, not the calculating. It follows the voice of faith. And faith is always bold. Faith speaks first. Faith speaks loud. Faith speaks truth. And truth always draws its own evidence. Speak now, and let the servant come running. This is the operation of the law of command, a spiritual law, immutable and unbreakable, written into the invisible substance of all creation, waiting not for your effort, but for your voice. It is this law that separates the wanderer from the demonstrator, the drifter from the master, the one who hopes from the one who knows. The law of command is not a metaphor. It is not poetic language. It is spiritual mechanics. It is the clear, unwavering declaration that spirit responds to conviction, that substance organizes itself around authority, and that divine order is established by the one who dares to speak as if the thing already is. Not in confusion, not in apology, not in polite suggestion, but in clear spiritual decree. When the centurion said to Jesus, "Speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed," he understood the law. He knew that authority flows from position, not volume. That power moves through word, not through force. That all matter, all money, all circumstance, all so-called delay and detour bows before the voice of unwavering command. And yet, how many times have you whispered when you should have declared? How many times have you asked when you should have commanded? How many times have you described your situation when you were meant to define it? This is why your world has remained half-built, because you have been polite with the law instead of powerful in it. You have spoken as a tenant instead of as an heir. You have forgotten that the law does not respond to emotion, it responds to alignment. It does not bend to desperation, it moves to dominion, and dominion is always vocal. The law of command says this: what you will not say with certainty, you cannot sustain in reality. What you hesitate to name, you will hesitate to receive. What you refuse to affirm, you silently delay. And so I tell you now, speak boldly. Call it forth. Issue your decree. Stop negotiating with the unseen as if it is reluctant. It is not reluctant. It is obedient. But it obeys the voice of spiritual clarity, not mental chatter, not anxious pleading, not conditional belief. Only clarity, only command. That is why you must declare, "I now command riches to serve divine purpose through me." Not tomorrow. Not when it makes sense. Not when others approve. Now. Because fortune is not late. Fortune is not deaf. Fortune is not deciding. Fortune is waiting. Waiting for the sound of your faith. And when it hears it, it follows. Every time. That is law. That is truth. That is the power of the command. Use it. Now you must rise in word, not just once, not just when inspired, but every single day, and take your rightful position as one who commands, one who speaks, one who sets divine substance into motion by the frequency of certainty. You must say it until it becomes the vibration in your breath, the weight in your stride, the stillness in your chest. I now command riches to serve divine purpose through me. Say it before you feel rich. Say it before the numbers reflect it. Say it before the doors appear. Say it with no evidence but the knowing that the word itself is the evidence, and the rest will follow by law. You must no longer speak as one who waits to see what will happen. You are not a spectator. You are the cause, the speaker, the initiator. And when you say this sentence, "I now command riches to serve divine purpose through me," you are not ordering the universe in arrogance. You are aligning your voice with your divine identity. You are standing as the lighthouse, not the drifter. You are moving from echo to origin, from reaction to rulership. This is not a wish, it is a charge. You are commanding money not to serve your fear, but to serve purpose, not to inflate your ego, but to expand divine order. Not to prove something to others, but to prove the law. And law, once spoken through you, once affirmed with rhythm, once repeated until it carves a new groove in the stone of your being, must obey. Do not water this down. Do not shy away. Do not couch it in disclaimers. Do not say, well, if it's meant to be, no. Speak with finality. Speak with honor. Speak as one who has remembered their place in the structure of spirit. Say, I now command riches to serve divine purpose through me. Let that sentence burn through your old timidity. Let it dissolve your hesitation. Let it silence the inner voice that still asks permission to be provided for. You do not need permission. You need alignment. You need agreement between your word and the law. And when you speak from that agreement, money no longer feels like a stranger. It recognizes your tone, responds to your breath, arranges itself according to the clarity of your decree. This is your new tongue. This is your daily speech. This is your sacred charge. You speak, and it serves. You speak, and it flows. You speak, and divine purpose now has its channel. Speak, and do not stop. Speak and command it. Speak and be transformed into the very image of the one who always had the power, not in effort, but in utterance. Say it now. I now command riches to serve divine purpose through me. And watch the invisible rise into form at the sound of your faith. And now, let the reprogramming descend deeper, past the mind, past the memory, past the layers of habit that have silently tied your identity to lack and your nervous system to guilt. Because here is the final stronghold, the fear of having more, the unspoken terror of becoming the one who no longer struggles, the quiet resistance to overflow, not because you don't want it, but because somewhere within you've been taught that to have much is to risk much. Risk judgment, risk disconnection, risk the loss of humility, risk being misunderstood, risk being the one who rises while others remain where they are. And this fear, though unspoken, has lived in the back room of your being like an uninvited tenant, coloring your choices, whispering hesitations, softening your declarations so they don't come too fast, too loud, too real. It is the reason you've unconsciously delayed your own good. Because to receive without guilt, to command without fear, to prosper without apology would mean shedding the last remnants of the identity that once made you feel safe in struggle. But that identity must go. The spiritual child cannot wear the garments of the survival self. You cannot command riches to serve divine purpose and then tremble when they arrive. You cannot speak like a steward and then shrink like a beggar. You must become fully reprogrammed to hold wealth as your peace, not your problem. You must train your body to feel calm in overflow. You must teach your heart that being provided for is not selfish, it is sacred. You must rewire your atmosphere so that having more feels as natural as breathing, so that spending, giving, circulating money feels not like a loss but like a divine function, a holy current flowing through an open, unclogged vessel. This is the transformation, from fearing riches to carrying riches, from shrinking around money to sending money, from asking if you're worthy to realizing you were always chosen to reveal the abundant nature of God through your words, your hands, your accounts, your giving, your quiet confidence. And you do this not by thinking new thoughts, but by speaking new truths until they echo so deeply that the old codes of fear and guilt are dissolved, overwritten, replaced. You must say, I now command riches to serve divine purpose through me, not just as a line, but as a lifestyle. You must say it when it feels untrue. You must say it when the old fear returns. You must say it until the voice of apology dies and the voice of dominion rises, because only one can lead. Only one can be your source code. And it must be truth. It must be authority. It must be love without guilt, power without shame, stewardship without self-abandonment. Say it again. Say it until the nervous system relaxes and the soul expands, and the wealth that once felt too big now feels like home. Say it until you are reprogrammed to command, not ask. To speak, not wonder. To carry, not flinch. Say it until riches no longer intimidate, but obey. This is your reprogramming. This is your return. This is your reign. The only millionaire you'll ever become is the one you dare to declare, not the one you wish for in silence, not the one you chase through hustle, not the one you wait to emerge from circumstance. No, the millionaire is not born through grind. It is spoken into being. It is called forth by word, sculpted by rhythm, summoned by breath that knows itself to be holy, aligned, unbreakable. And if you still believe wealth begins outside of you, if you believe it starts in economy, in education, in opportunity, in who you know or where you've been, then you are living backward. You are casting your voice into a mirror and expecting the reflection to change before your face moves. But I tell you, it is your word that forms the substance. It is your tone that awakens the millionaire self. It is your bold, rhythmic, unapologetic declaration that calls forth the invisible riches already coded into your being. You are not trying to become rich. You are not hoping to stumble upon success. You are not waiting for the evidence of wealth before you claim the identity that births it. You are speaking it now. And as you speak, you shape. As you declare, you become. As you affirm, you awaken what has always been inside, sleeping behind fear, buried beneath hesitation, waiting for your permission to rise. Say it. I speak the millionaire within me into form. My voice carries the frequency of wealth. My word is my wealth made visible. Let that be your first sentence each morning. Let it burn through your old image. Let it walk ahead of you into every room. The world may offer opportunity, but only your word can give you identity. And identity is everything. Speak now, not as one who hopes, but as one who knows. And let the millionaire rise to meet your voice. This is governed by the law of identity, and it is one of the most ignored yet most powerful spiritual laws ever spoken into existence. For as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Not as he hopes, not as he wishes, not as he performs, but as he thinks in his heart, his inner image, his spoken self-definition, his silent declarations repeated day after day until they harden into atmosphere. You see, the world is not responding to what you do. It is responding to who you believe you are. And if you continue to speak as one who is seeking, searching, begging, surviving, adjusting, waiting, then you can only ever receive what matches that vibration. But the moment you shift into identity, into the I am, into the spoken form of who you truly are in spirit, you begin to emit a frequency that no appearance can ignore. Because law does not respond to personality. Law does not respond to effort. Law does not respond to struggle. Law responds to identity, to form, to vibration, to word backed by being. And when you say, I am the wealth of God made visible, you are not playing with language. You are activating code. You are drawing the unseen self into visibility. You are calling forth the inner millionaire not from fantasy, but from spiritual memory. For this self already exists. It is the version of you that has never doubted, never feared, never apologized for abundance, never begged for scraps, never flinched at overflow. This version of you was formed in divine substance and clothed in divine law, and the only thing that can hold it back is your refusal to speak it forth. Identity is not found, it is declared, and when you declare, I am the wealth of God made visible, heaven nods in recognition. Law moves in acknowledgement. Substance responds with precision, because it is only the bold declaration of identity that opens the gates. The servant may ask, the beggar may hope, but the heir declares. The heir walks in the authority of I am, and until you walk in that rhythm, until you speak from that name, you will remain outside the gates of your own estate. But when you speak the millionaire within into form, when you call it forth as if it were already done, when you align every thought, action, and atmosphere with that identity, then the world must conform, not by chance, not by effort, but by law. Say it, Own it. Walk in it. You are not becoming. You are remembering. You are not chasing. You are revealing. And your voice is the instrument of manifestation. Speak and be made new. Speak, and the millionaire in you steps into the room. Now you must do what few dare to do, not just believe you are wealthy, but speak as the wealth itself. Not as one in pursuit of abundance, but as the embodiment of it. You must say, I am the wealth of God made visible. I do not chase money, I reveal it. Say it until the chase dissolves. Say it until the anxiety vanishes. Say it until your nervous system ceases to pulse with the false urgency of pursuit and instead vibrates with the calm, magnetic rhythm of divine revelation. Because you are not here to run after provision. You are here to stand still in truth and let provision recognize you, align with you, find you, flow to you. You must stop imagining that money lives outside of you. You must stop assigning it to banks, to clients, to trends, to bosses, to channels that change and systems that collapse. You must begin to know, deeply, absolutely, rhythmically, that the only wealth that matters is the wealth you carry in your voice, the wealth you activate through word, the wealth you awaken through the I am. You are the expression of divine substance, and when you declare your identity, that substance moves. You do not chase the thing. You reveal the self that magnetizes the thing. Say it. I do not chase money. I reveal it. Let that become your daily decree, your inner atmosphere, your response to every fear that whispers, what if it doesn't come? Because it must come. Not because you deserve it, not because you've earned it, but because you've aligned with it. The law is mechanical. The law is exact. The law is activated not by need but by knowing. And knowing is born from speaking. So speak this. I am the wealth of God made visible. Speak it until your tone changes. Speak it until your spine straightens. Speak it until you no longer interpret opportunities as lifelines but as rightful appointments. Speak it until every interaction you have carries the aroma of overflow. Until you walk into rooms and lack fleas because it cannot find a home in you anymore. This is not fiction. This is not ego. This is not illusion. This is spiritual truth spoken into a world that has forgotten its source. You are not here to perform for prosperity. You are here to reveal it. And the way you reveal it is not by explaining or proving or explaining again. It is by declaring, without hesitation, without apology, without softening your tone to suit the fear of others. I am the wealth of God made visible. That is the law speaking through you. That is God remembering himself in your form. That is truth wearing your voice. Say it. Say it often. Say it until no other sentence fits. And the riches that once felt distant will begin to show up. Not because you chased them, but because you spoke as the one who was never separate from them to begin with. Speak and reveal. Speak and receive. Speak and be made whole in the image of divine supply. And now let the final veil fall, the last illusion that your voice is weak, that your words are mere sounds, that your declarations are hopeful wishes floating aimlessly into the ether. That is the lie you must tear out now. Because the truth is this: your voice is the carrier of divine vibration, and every syllable you release in faith sends a command through spiritual substance that reshapes the field around you, rearranges what seems fixed, and summons into form what has long been waiting on the edge of visibility. But if you still speak like the old self, if your tongue still trembles with the vibrations of worry, if your affirmations are whispered like fragile requests instead of declared like sovereign truth, then your atmosphere will reflect it. You must begin to speak with the fullness of identity, not just the words, but the weight behind the words, the tone, the rhythm, the certainty. You must train your voice until it rings with truth, not drama, not desperation. Truth. Let the millionaire within you speak not in fragments, but in full sentences. Let it speak not occasionally, but continually. Let it shape your emails, your conversations, your inner monologue, your silence. You see, your reprogramming is not just about what you think. It is about what your entire being vibrates when you move through the world. And that vibration is shaped by repetition, by rhythm, by sound, by sacred language spoken so consistently that the body begins to believe it, the mind begins to obey it, and your external life begins to conform to it without resistance. Every time you say, "I am the wealth of God made visible," you are hammering a new groove into the stone of your subconscious. Every time you say, "I do not chase money, I reveal it," you are dissolving the addiction to effort and replacing it with the frequency of embodiment. And embodiment is everything. It is not enough to believe quietly. You must speak audibly. You must let your own ears hear your own truth. You must walk through your day as one who cannot speak fear, not because you are trying to be positive, but because fear no longer lives in your vocal cords. You must let your voice be colonized by faith, by truth, by identity, until nothing else feels natural. Until the old way of speaking, the one that explained delay, that justified lack, that decorated disbelief with nice language, feels foreign to your mouth. That is when you know reprogramming has taken root. That is when you no longer have to try to feel wealthy. You sound wealthy. You carry it in your breath. You deliver it in every sentence. And wealth responds to that sound. It hears your voice and recognizes its origin. Speak, and your voice becomes the vault. Speak, and your wealth becomes the echo. Speak, and every lie that said "you can't" breaks under the authority of "I am." This is your sound now. This is your shape now. This is your new identity, spoken into the world and returning to you, pressed down, shaken together, running over. Let the voice lead. Let it carry you into form. Let every cell of your being remember the truth. Your word is your wand, and your wand is in your mouth. Speak it, shape it, and walk in what you have declared. Now, beloved, I give you the final formula, not for inspiration, but for installation. These are not affirmations for your journal. They are instruments of recreation. They are chisels for the mind, hammers for the subconscious, golden incantations that carve new grooves into the stone of your being until wealth is not something you try to believe in, but something you cannot forget. You must speak them not as a ritual, but as law, not as begging, but as being. You must say them until they echo louder than your fears, until they drown out the old identity, until they become your breath, your walk, your rhythm, your core. Declare with me now, God is my instant, constant, radiant supply. Let this be the opening line of your new life. Let this sentence dissolve every false belief that says supply comes from man, from hustle, from delay. This is not poetry. It is structure, divine structure. Speak it until it rearranges your internal map. Large sums of money come to me now, under grace. You must no longer ask for trickles. You must no longer believe in crumbs. You must expect large, not by force, but by frequency, not by pressure, but by placement. Money is not coming because you work harder. It is coming because you are aligned with law. I spend, give, and receive as a steward of divine wealth. This is how you walk through the world now, not as one afraid of bills, not as one shrinking at the register, not as one over-apologizing in their generosity. You move like one through whom money moves, flowing, circulating, commanded. I am immune to fear, delay, and economic illusion. This is your new spiritual immune system. Fear cannot enter. Delay cannot deceive. Appearance cannot seduce you into believing lack is real. You are inoculated with truth. You carry spiritual antibodies made of word. Everything I seek is already mine in the invisible. You no longer seek, you remember. You no longer strive, you retrieve. You are not chasing, you are revealing. The treasure is not ahead, it is within. You are not far, you are awakening. My words are gold. My voice is the vault. Stop treating your speech like a side note. Stop muttering half-beliefs into the void. Your mouth is the mechanism, your tongue is the trigger, your voice is the gate. Speak with weight, speak with tone, speak with law. And now the final command, the seal, the cornerstone, the rhythm that reshapes everything. I am wealth. I speak, and it is. Let that ring through your body. Let it dissolve what no longer serves. Let it become your inner gospel. You are not becoming. You are. You are not trying. You speak. And the moment you speak, it must be. Because law does not fail. Spirit does not stall. Word does not return void. Say it now. Say it every day. Say it until your entire life bends into the shape of your own command. Let the world watch you rise by word, by rhythm, by truth. You are the miracle. You are the millionaire. You are the mouthpiece of divine abundance. Speak, and it is.